So, in this video, I want to talk about some of the most uncomfortable and debilitating symptoms that I experienced dealing with chronic Lyme disease, chronic illness, long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, and all the associated sort of subgenres of illness like SIBO, Candida, and all of those things. And I think it's important for me to share some of these things so you guys understand like where I'm coming from, why I'm so adamant about this type of healing, and why I believe that mind body healing is the way to heal from a lot of these conditions. I think something that we often unintentionally do is we sort of sort of accidentally project our symptoms and say, I'm the worst case scenario. I'm the worst case scenario. You don't have what I'm dealing with. You don't understand what I'm going through. All of this stuff can't be healed through, the tools and the practices that you're talking about. I'm here to tell you, in my experience, I've dealt with the worst of the worst physical, neurological, cognitive, psychological symptoms and have healed significantly, if not altogether, in a lot of cases from most of them. I still have lingering symptoms time to time, but that's the healing journey. And if anyone who is dealing with a chronic illness tells you that they don't experience a symptom or two from time to time, they're probably just lying to you and then being dishonest. And I'm here to give you like the straight up truth about everything. Um, but I wanted to make a video so that you understand, like, you know, there are some debilitating symptoms that I've gone through and that man, weathered through and even know if I would ever come out on the other side of them. And, specifically talk about what I believe causes them, how I handled them, and what the symptoms are like now. Like, what do I still experience? In my journey, if you guys know anything about me, and maybe you don't, I just recently started this YouTube channel. Um, but maybe you know a little bit about my story. Maybe you've heard some about it. I was bedridden sick, basically housebound, couchbound, bedbound for many years. The only time I truly left the house was to go see doctors, on occasions to go get food. But most of the time I had to have someone drive me. I struggled to drive. I struggled to live. I struggled to do, basic tasks for many years. And it wasn't just physical, it was neurological, it was psychological, it was cognitive. My entire body was, you know, broken down from hundreds of symptoms. And I'm not going to go into every single one of the symptoms, but I'm going to go into some of the most debilitating, scary, uncomfortable symptoms that I dealt with and talk about them openly and what I believe causes them, what I believe, helps resolve them, and, how severe these things were, and talk about how I navigated going through from being bedridden, sick, homebound, housebound, immobile in a lot of ways, to now living a completely normal life, skateboarding, playing sports, working out multiple days a week, living my life, working, going traveling, doing basically whatever I want, with very limited symptoms. So I'm just gonna start talking about some of them. So for me, the number one symptom that was the most debilitating for me was not physical things. I dealt with tons of physical stuff, but I was very used to pain, so it wasn't my worst symptom. Some of my worst symptoms were the neurological, cognitive, and psychological stuff. And the biggest thing that I dealt with, that was the hardest thing for me to deal with, especially when I first got sick, was depersonalization and derealization. If you guys don't know what that is basically where you feel like you are detached from reality, like you were in a dream, like you are looking at your body from like an outsider's perspective, or you feel like the world is dreamlike. And often this comes with several other sensations and symptoms. You can often feel, like you're out of your body. It also really affects the vision. People will feel like their vision is flat, 2D, get after images, floaters, hazy vision, visual snow. So it all goes hand in hand, and it's like you're in this hellish dream-like state. It's almost like a perpetual state of purgatory. That's how I described it. Where like I was on an acid trip all the time. And it was so debilitating for me that like I literally need to just be inside, like lights off or very low, and try to zone out and not focus on the symptom. And I spent many years fearful of it, trying to get rid of it, trying to heal from it. And the thing that helped me most was acceptance of it, was surrendering to it, was letting go of it, and making the best of it while I was struggling with this. And I know a lot of people, if you know about depersonalization, derealization, we often all wrestle with that symptom for many, many years. And some people never get out of it because they struggle with acceptance, surrender to it. And I'm here to tell you that is one of the best things that you can kind of do. So, what I did to help myself heal from this was make peace with it. Didn't mean I liked it, didn't mean I loved it, but it meant I was allowing it to be there. And I began to live my life with it as best I could, best I could. And sometimes I failed, sometimes it sucked. But here's the deal, and here's what I think it comes from. Comes from a very severe state of shutdown in your nervous system, where your body is basically in that freeze fawn state, and your nervous system feels like you're about to be attacked and like there's nothing you can do. So you kind of disassociate, you leave or detach from your body. And these visual symptoms and sensations are reflective of that. I do believe that there's probably some components of neuroinflammation that heighten this. But the thing about the neuroinflammation is when the nervous system is calmer and regulated, the neuroinflammation, I believe, calms down. So that is one of the most debilitating symptoms that I experience. The next thing that was really, really hard for me was feeling like I was swaying on a boat from side to side, feeling like the floor would drop underneath for me, feeling like I was, just moving at all times when I was sitting still. This lasted for months, if not years at a time. And it was debilitating. It was so debilitating. I, again, think that this is somewhat related to neuroinflammation, could be related to the body and the nervous system as well. But again, for me, the only thing that calmed and helped this symptom was doing nervous system practices, was making peace with it as best I could, and trusting and surrendering that it was going to get better, that it was going to get better, and moving forward in life as best I could. Doesn't mean I did not struggle with it. Doesn't mean I did not struggle with it. Um, and then it resolved completely, and I haven't, I don't deal with it. The depersonalization and derealization, I also like think, exist on a spectrum. I wanted to go back to that, where sometimes you feel super detached. Sometimes you feel like you're not even on this planet, and other times you just feel kind of mildly, I feel like I'm in a dream, type of deal or whatever. So like it can exist on a spectrum where you can feel like, oh, I feel mostly here, I feel mostly in my body, but I still don't feel like this is real, and then you can feel really detached, and it just depends on the level of your nervous system, I believe, and somewhat of the neuroinflammation. um, One of the next thing, and there's going to be a theme with this, it's going to be a lot of cognitive, neurological, and psychological stuff: anxiety, depression, and anhedonia. You guys all know what anxiety and depression are. Anxiety I really struggled with a lot. I used to have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, all of that. And I didn't know what was causing it. I thought it was, like Lyme or Bartonella or any of these things. And all that did was perpetuate the anxiety. I realized that a lot of that anxiety, depression, was nervous system related, was also gut health related, And so addressing my nervous system through lifestyle shifts, routines. Practicing acceptance again was a big part. You're going to hear a theme about all these symptoms. Practicing acceptance is key for all of it. Surrender. It's not an easy thing, and it's something that you have to work through. There are going to be times when you wrestle with it, right? But so for the anhedonia, anxiety, depression, I'm not going to talk about what anhedonia is, but addressing the nervous system, allowing my body to feel safe, and not just sitting here meditating all day, not here just sitting here and you know um, hoping that it gets better or trying these somatic practices or whatever and just sitting around, but actually showing my body safety through action. And so I did that a number of ways, but I began to get out of my environment, my comfort zone of just a normal, like the four walls of my house. I always tell people you can't heal from the four walls of your house. I truly believe that. And I had to show my body safety, like it's safe to go out and do these things, safe to try new things, it's safe to be in new environments. And that helped a lot. And then, like I said, gut healing is such a big part of mental health. I mean, this includes uh, depersonalization, but for me, it was anxiety, depression. You know, I believe when our gut microbiome is really compromised, we're dealing with leaky gut, candida, SIBO. Our body and our gut is not making the proper chemicals like serotonin, and all of these things, and that resides in our gut often. And often also we have the gut brain axis, which is the connection from our brain to our gut health. And so often what happens is we get inflammation in the gut. The gut is connected to our brain through the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, and our vagus nerve. And so when we have inflammation in the gut, it's also neuroinflammation, which also can lead to these um, psychological symptoms, anxiety, depression. If you don't know what anhedonia is, um, I talked about this. I dealt with this for like 6 months at a time, sometimes longer, and it was awful. It's basically like you cannot experience pleasure or joy in anything, even like the little things. So it often is sort of a subsymptom of anxiety or depression, like severe depression, severe state of shutdown. So I always, I'll say it as like if it feels like you're numb, you don't feel any type of like severe emotion, but you also feel so like it's like you're just existing in reality with the rose colored glasses taken off from an emotional lens, whether that's good or bad emotions. Often it's like you can't experience any of them. And usually anhedonia comes with depression and symptoms of anxiety, but you're in the severe states of anhedonia, it's not like you're sad all day. You're just numb. Like everything feels dull, lifeless, flat. Like you can't even feel the desire to go and like do anything, even if it's like eating food, taking a shower. This is where like that I believe really comes from in the state of depression. And I dealt with that symptom was so hard for me because that was like, wow, I don't even know how I exist in this life. Um, Acceptance and commitment therapy was the key to heal that symptom, but also things like anxiety, depression, and depersonalization, derealization. Um, I've talked about it in other videos. I didn't see it there. I've seen several therapists, but I didn't see therapists for this. I just read a lot of books and then was like, okay, this makes sense. I can grasp this. I can try it. Basically, acceptance and commitment therapy is like, if you're dealing with anhedonia and anxiety and depression, like you don't feel like doing anything ever. It's like, you know, basically everything sucks, and you don't feel the desire to go out and hang with friends, engage in hobbies, activities, date, work, play, do any of these things, listen to music. Um, and acceptance and commitment therapy would basically say, well, okay, you can accept where you're at right now, understanding that no matter what you do in this specific moment, it's not going to make a huge difference, but you can take committed action on your values, regardless of how you feel. And this over time will help build safety in the body and the nervous system, and help drum up some of those feelings of positivity, joy, and help lift you out of anhedonia through anxiety and depression as well. This was the case for me. I was struggling with that for a while. I read some books and it was like, dude, if you're dealing with anhedonia and you don't have the desire to go, play sports or engage in hobbies or, see friends, who cares? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. It's better than sitting there doing nothing. And for me, when I first started this, it was like, okay, so I would go do these things. I would feel like crap. It really wouldn't help. But then after, months of doing this, like I started seeing serious glimmers, and the positive emotions started to come back. The feelings of accomplishment came back. The feelings of joy, little bits of peace in my body came back. And I knew I was on the right track. So this is where I teach a lot around ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. Again, I'm not a therapist. See your therapist if you need professional care like that. But this is what I believe heals a lot of the psychological and like the severe things like anhedonia, anxiety, depression, and depersonalization and derealization. I know I'm simplifying it with that. This is hard work too. This is hard work. I did this all without medication. Didn't take antidepressants. Didn't take, anti-anxiety medication. Um, and I'm not saying that you can't do this while you're on those things. I'm saying it's probably going to help if you are on those things and you're experiencing these things. However, I want to give people options if they are resistant to antidepressants, if they are struggling, because they had bad adverse reactions to antidepressants or anxiety medication, that you don't absolutely need it. I'm living proof of that. Um, I want to talk about a couple more symptoms that I think people experience often that they're very fearful of. I used to experience a symptom where I felt like I was plugged into a socket. Like I felt like my body was vibrating from the inside. Like I had a motor attached to my spine, just constantly shaking from within. Um, and it was awful. It was awful. Like I felt like I was constantly moving when I wasn't. It was different than the vertigo. It was like literally like there was like just an internal shake and only in like almost an internal tremor, constant going in my body. Um, this, I believe, is when the nervous system is in that state of um, sympathetic overdrive, anxiety, fight or flight. And it's like almost like the gas pedal is stuck down, and your body just has all of this excess cortisol, adrenaline, it doesn't know what to do with. And the nervous system kind of is just shaking, you know? Um, I had to, in order to understand this and understand what helped heal it, what could help heal it, was movement, was regular movement. When I felt like this, if I was sitting still, it was like, I need to move. I need to move. Like some of the only thing that helped with that was like going on long walks, shaking, like somatic shaking exercises, doing those things. And it didn't calm it down like completely, but it felt better in the moment, expelling some of this cortisol, adrenaline. I think that really, really happens. A lot of people will think that this is due to like, the Lyme or, some type of infection. And it may be, but for me, it was like, dude, your nervous system is like literally on edge at all times. And this is where movement really, really helped. Leaning into it, allowing it to be there. Like, again, this is where I say the foundation of all of what I teach and everything to heal from is acceptance, allowing. And this is not just telling yourself, this is not understanding the concept, it is actually embodying the concept. So, understanding like symptoms are not dangerous, they are not rare, they will eventually shift. So, I'm going to allow them to shift on their own time. I'm going to practice some of these things and I'm going to let go. That's kind of all I want to share. Like I said, I dealt with hundreds of symptoms. There are so many other ones, POTS, type symptoms, heart involvement, um, terrible pain, uh, muscle twitches. The other thing there was one other symptom that was really debilitating for me. It was constant like migraines, head pressure. I felt like my brain was constantly inflamed and exploding from the inside. And, you know, a lot of people experience that. Again, it's almost like you feel the inflammation in your brain. Um, for me, that was always at its worst when my DPDR was at its worst, when my nervous system was at its worst, um, and the the thing that helped me resolve that symptom and help me overcome that symptom was to do the nervous system work that I talk about, to practice acceptance with it, to be gentle with myself, to come back into balance, into safety, do the things that I talk about: acceptance and commitment therapy, nervous system work through routines and consistency, not through quick fixes, and then healing the gut brain connection. Again, that inflammation, that brain inflammation, could also be related to the gut in some ways. And it doesn't mean that you're stuck like this. You have to gently nourish yourself. The thing that I always tell people is like, with these symptoms, when they're really bad, they're constantly shifting, changing, waxing, waning. Like that's how it was for me. Like some days were really, really hard, and some days it would last for days, if not weeks in a row. It was always waxing and waning. And so you can kind of see that things can shift when you do the right things. And then also, give it time. Give it time. Give yourself time. I tell people when they're going through this journey of overcoming depersonalization, derealization, anhedonia, anxiety, and these uncomfortable symptoms and sensations, to not look a week from now, not look a month from now, but truly look like 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. A lot can change in a long time, like, a longer timeline. Don't put that pressure on yourself to have it better. And here's the deal with it. And I even hate and hesitate to say this, is when you give yourself grace and space and patience, it actually speeds things up. But you have to do it from a place of, I'm giving myself time, not I'm giving myself time so it speeds it up. Just I'm giving my nervous system, my body time to heal on its own time. Hope this helps you. Let me know if you guys have any questions about any of these symptoms, sensations. I'm happy to expand on it more. Just know that you're not alone. Like these symptoms, while they can be super uncomfortable, if you're dealing with Lyme disease, long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, like you're not alone. There's millions of people that are dealing with them, millions of people, including myself, that have overcome them. Um, just let me know if you need help. I'm happy to expand on any of this stuff. I'm happy to help any of you guys out. I hope this helps you.